Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zach Cherry, and with me as always is.
Wow, Josh. Eddie of Edward's Truth.
And with us as always are all of my Patreon supporters right in the middle in the chat here with us. And
Yeah.
today is special because this is the first Patreon's choice of the Cherry
Ooh.
Picker, which is going to be Companion.
Mm-hmm.
Released January 31st, 2025. This was nominated by Sean Conley and it received 19% of the votes. So that means that we're talking about it today. And for anyone who's not up to speed on what's going on with these live stream podcasts and the Patreon's choice is that we're now recording these live. So that is a perk of being a Patreon supporter at the Freddy Krueger tier or higher. And
Mm.
along with that, we're also doing a poll once a month. So Patreons get to nominate a movie that they want us to cover for the last episode, and then it's voted on. And that is Companion this month. So that was a very long roundabout way of explaining
Yeah,
the
you
whole thing.
looped. You came right back to your initial point. I like it. Full circle.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So this is really exciting. This is and we both saw this, like I saw this in the theater, did you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So I'm glad that we're covering it because this is a movie that I wonder if we would have eventually gotten around to it, but there's a lot of good things to say. So I'm happy that it was nominated, and I hope that this streak continues. That you guys
I mean, neither
pick
one of us
good
was going like,
movies.
oh, when we saw that it was going to be
Damn,
Companion.
Companion.
It's like, oh, you guys want our blood. You
And
want our
we're
blood.
we're honest. We'll like if we don't
Oh,
like
we will
the
tell you.
movie, we'll tell you. We'll talk about it. And we'll tell you we hate it and we hate you
Hmm.
for nominating it or voting for it.
Well, one of us will.
But well, one of us is honest with
Oh
what we
God.
do, and I'll just
And
leave
one
it
of
at that.
us and one of us doesn't actively hate.
Well, one of us has tact, which is just not saying true stuff.
Oh my God. You had to go and quote Cordelia.
I had to quote Buffy, yeah. Um, However, anyway, that is one of the benefits of being a Patreon supporter. So if you want, you can head over to patreon.com/ZachCherry. And
Mhm.
if you're subscribing at any tier, there's lots of benefits that you'll get. But starting with Freddy Krueger, you'll get all of the Cherry Picker live stream and Patreon choice benefits. I do
Mm.
want to shout out a few of my top tier Patreon supporters. So thank you to the Michael Myerses, Kyle Beard, Maxime Rivest, Ellie Hamouche, Shane Allingham, Tim McKay, Stephanie Starbright, Horror Slut 9095, Traj 125, Bruce the Genetic Jackhammer Rando, Gary Blasick, Michael Boswell, and then thank you to the Ghost Faces, Eric Champney, Sam Levy, Daniel Saturn, Baby Ghoul, Garrison Nichols, and Craig Lynn. A lot of these people are here tonight too, so very exciting.
Yay!
Uh, do you have a premise?
Yeah, it's nothing special. I just threw it together. Here we go.
Oh no.
A weekend getaway with friends at a remote cabin devolved into chaos once it's revealed that one of the guests is more than a mere companion. You know, pretty
Dun dun
straightforward.
dun.
Dun dun
Well,
dun.
I mean, we can get into the, I guess the marketing of the movie and all that because I got a lot to say.
Okay.
But where can this be watched right now?
Glad you asked, Zach Cherry. As of this date, you can stream it like I did on Max, which is soon to revert to HBO Max again. They're going to change their
Mm,
name again. Um, or you can get it for individual rental on whatever your favorite streaming rental platform is. And it's also available on a 4K and a Blu-ray that were released on April 1st of this year. Minimal special features,
Ugh.
so just know if you buy it on physical media, you're probably going to buy it later when Arrow or Scream Factory or somebody comes out with a
Yeah,
release for it. Yeah.
yeah, that's really frustrating because
Hmm.
it just feels like every studio release is just garbage these days, and you barely get
Yeah.
anything on them. I
And
mean,
I'd love to know more about it too.
yeah, it's nice to own the movie proper, but it just feels like physical media is just like, for the most part, is just like a dying breed of just like what the studios put out. You know, fortunately, we
Hmm.
do have the boutique distributors who are looking out for us.
So send them
But
your money.
yeah, I
I mean,
did
in exchange for
see.
product, but yeah, yeah,
I
you did
did
see.
see, and I'm very tempted to purchase Arrow. Put out the new line Friday the 13th movies. So
Oh
Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, and the remake
my
of Friday the
goodness.
13th, 2009, and they're all
Mm.
like very like consistent. Like the design of the package is similar, but with its own like theme of like what that movie is.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so I mean, even though I'm not, as big a fan of those New Line ones, I'm just looking at them. I'm like, damn, I want to own those. And I'm sure that there's probably some nice special features on there.
Yeah, I'll have to see what the features are and if they warrant like another purchase because I have my box set right here. You can't tell because it's turned with all the for people who are watching. Oh, you can't even
Yeah.
see it in the on the
Well, you're
screen.
gonna have to
Like,
take it out and like put it
I don't want to
in
because then
front of
it's
you.
all gonna tumble. You know what it looks like.
Yeah, we've
The
seen it.
Scream Factory
It's
big
actually
box. I
it's
finally
you can
got
see
it.
it on my screen. It's right there, blurry in the background. That
Yeah,
one.
there it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
That one.
For anyone watching us on YouTube. But
So what did you know
yeah,
about this movie going into it?
so I'm very glad that you asked, because this actually correlates to something that Amethyst Frost is saying. Oh, and of course the chat jumped up. So
Ooh,
yeah, my first issue with the film is that the treat Iris being a, by the way, spoilers, so make sure you watch the movie
yeah.
before you
Watch the
you
movie
get, yeah,
first.
please do. Yeah. So my first issue with the film is that the do, 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 is that they treat Iris being a robot as a reveal when that's literally the poster. Um,
Oh.
I mean, the poster can be like, the poster isn't as revealing to me as the trailer was, because it doesn't
Hmm.
really say much. I think that, they probably could have done something different with the poster for sure.
Hmm.
But my first exposure to anything companion was the teaser,
Hmm.
which was just the scene. It was just like a snippet of the scene where they're sitting at the dinner table and she's handcuffed to it. And he's, like, it's just like he's holding up his wine glass, and it just seems like, okay, this is like a romantic dinner, but she's being held against her will.
Right.
And she's just like, Josh, why am I handcuffed to the chair? And it was just sort of that. And that alone, like, just like whatever that bit was, it didn't give anything away. But it was just like, here we have Jack Quaid, so a familiar face. I don't think that, like, she's at this point, Sophie Thatcher, I think she was in The Heretic. So
Hmm.
people
And
would recognize her from that. She was also in The Boogeyman, which, I mean, I don't have anything to say about that.
Maxine, Max
She
XXXine.
well, yeah, she had a very brief role. Her character didn't even have a name. It's just the FX artist who
Yeah.
slathers the stuff
All
on
over.
Maxine's face and then just leaves. Like puts the
Yeah,
timer on,
she was
like
the most
suffocating.
irresponsible
Yeah.
techie ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing to see the two of them on screen together, even just as a little like, oh wow, two horror queens, contemporary horror queens for me. Anyway, you're saying?
Yeah. But yeah, so she's a star on the rise for sure,
Yeah.
especially after this. But
Oh,
that was enough, because there was enough mystery, there was enough intrigue, that I'm just like, oh, this looks like something I want to see. And it said from the producers of Barbarian.
Mm.
And I've talked about Barbarian, and I have some opinions of it that are positive and negative, but it's still a movie that would, if I saw like, okay, this is from the same people who brought you that, I want to see what this is. I want to see what
Yeah.
their next uh, effort is. And that was good for me. And then they released the regular trailer. And I wish that I had the heads up not to watch it because the regular trailer spoils the first surprise of the movie, which isn't revealed until the end of the first act. And
Mm.
that to me is extremely egregious. I understand from a studio standpoint why there's this, I guess, fear of wanting to throw a little bit more in there to entice an audience because it's like, oh, this isn't going to be enough. We're not going to get enough people here.
Mm.
But from like an actual standpoint of enjoying the movie, I think it like
Yeah.
completely ruins it. We talked about what lies beneath. I think it was last year, and without going into like spoilers of that too much,
Oh.
we know that like the first act of the movie is a red herring, and the
Yeah.
first act is like 45 minutes long. Like it goes on for a while,
Yeah.
but it's really engaging, and it's not like it's completely obsolete. Like it's doing the Alfred Hitchcock, the Psycho thing, where there's things that are happening at the beginning are still
Mm-hmm.
relevant for what happens later on, but we're just seeing like a different perspective of what the events are.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of ruins that movie as well. I mean, if you were to see the trailer first and then know that okay, there's more to this story and what we're seeing at the beginning is not it. And then they also kind of like Abigail
Oh
was
yeah.
another offender of that, which I mean,
Mm.
not the movie itself, just the studio for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not seeing that, okay, here's a movie where we're trying to hide what the reveal is in within the movie itself, but then the marketing completely contradicting that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was fortunate because I don't even remember. I have a habit now when I went when I go into movies because I don't go in late. I do get there while the commercials are still playing and before the
Yeah.
trailers have begun. And but usually if it's a movie where it's like, okay, you've got me. I already know I'm going to see this thing. I drop my eyes. And I just try to think of other things. I don't cover my ears or anything like that, but I take my eyes off of the screen just so in case something is spoiled, I'll only hear it because that's less likely to remain in my memory. And also yeah, like I'll just sit there and I'll just kind of like I won't scroll on my phone, but I'll like play with my zipper on my jacket or I'll, I'll twiddle my thumbs. I'll find some way to just kind of zone out
Yeah.
because I'll be like, I already know I want to see it. I can tell the trailer's going to go on for another 40 seconds, and I just don't need it. I don't remember if I saw the teaser, which didn't ruin anything, or if I saw the trailer and just dropped out and for completely forgot anything that I might have absorbed. But by the time I got to the movie, also I did not. When I buy tickets, like they always have like the movie poster on Fandango, if you want to like purchase, whatever you're going to see. They're in thumbnails. I very rarely make the thumbnails larger
Mhm.
to try and decipher what the poster is, and I never look. I look for a title when I'm looking for the movie theater. I don't look for the poster. Oh, let's take a look at the post. No, I don't need to look. I'll get it after. I will look
Mhm.
with a discerning eye after it is all done because it'll probably make much more sense to me then, and there
Yeah.
will be less likely to be a spoiler. So when I went into the movie, I basically went in cold. I knew that there was like a girl and I knew that there was like some friction, and the top of the movie gives you that much. She says like all it opens with her talking about like the black cloud covering everything, and then you meet someone, and that was the she felt that way twice in her life. The first time she met Josh, and then the second time when she killed him. And I'm like, oh, okay, so we're good. We're starting with that. So the hook worked for me. Yeah, but yeah, I agree with you in terms of like the promotional material. We've said it before. It bears repeating. Like
Yeah.
I guess now it's up to the audience members themselves that if they don't want spoilers to just
Yeah.
kind of like avert their eyes at every turn
Well,
as much as
I
possible.
mean, that's what I did with the new Final Destination. And even
Uh,
then, there were like, I would just be hit with like a 10-second ad that like
right.
would spoil one of the deaths in the movie. And it's just like, oh God. But
Aw.
for the most part, I I went in relatively spoiler free, which was nice. But
Yeah.
Mark Craney is saying, I feel like most movies just need a good teaser to pique our interest and leave it at that.
Yeah.
Most movie trailers nowadays should come with a spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Champney, trailers are a train wreck now. A film can be effectively marketed without destroying its secrets. In
100%.
fact, a trailer for a twisty movie should be delightfully manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, okay. I was not a fan of Longlegs,
Mm.
but Longlegs should be like a sterling example for studios to show that you don't need to spoil the movie. You can give them as little as possible, make it as obscure and cryptic as you can, because
Mm-hmm.
that actually does work as a draw. People are like audiences are smart. They want to be challenged, even if they're not outright saying it, they want a mystery. They want to have to work for it. And if you present them with something that's like, as I always go back to like that Simpsons episode of the Gabbo, you know what I'm talking about at least.
Yes.
The Krusty the Clown's rival that just like that was the promotional thing. It's like Gabbo, Gabbo, Gabbo. And everyone is just like, oh my God, I'd like this is brilliant marketing. I have to like see what this is about because you just give them a little bit and they they're chomping at the bit for more. If you give them the entire movie in a trailer, I mean, the people who are like, okay, I think I'm gonna enjoy that, they'll go see it. But for the most part, you're losing a potential audience that could, end up really liking the movie and just isn't going to it because it's like, I know what that is.
I remember seeing an interview with Stephen Yeun from the Walking Dead. I think it was with Conan O'Brien, and they were talking about their kids and how the kids watch movies differently than the two of them do. And Conan is, I think, a full generation older than Stephen Yeun, but
Mhm.
they're both talking. Stephen Yeun was trying to show his son. Or no, he was telling his son about a movie and he wanted to show it to him. And his son was like, "Well, where's the trailer?" And he was like, "No, no, no. You don't want to see the trailer. You don't have to see it. Just watch the movie." He's like, "But I want to know what it's about." And he was like, "What?" And he said, "This entire next crop that we have coming up behind us are very much, they want, for whatever reason, I don't know if they've just been conditioned because that's what trailers have been introduced to them as
Yeah.
long as they've lived, like this past decade or whatever, as long as they've been kind of cognizant moviegoers. But they've developed this appetite in younger people by and large that actually makes them crave knowledge of what they're getting themselves into, which I'm not I mean, to each their own. I'm not on board with it. But I also know I'm of a different generation where most movies I saw growing up were the ones that were on cable, and I would be flipping through the channels. A movie would be like a third in, and I'd see something interesting happening, or an actor that I like, or a cute guy, let's be honest. And I'd be like, "Ooh, what's this?" And I'd
Mhm.
stick around. I'd watch the rest of the movie if it held my interest, and
Yeah.
then I'd look for the next time it was I almost said streaming, airing. That's how we used to
Yeah.
put it on cable, and I would make it a point to see it from the beginning the next time and if I
Yeah.
liked what I saw enough, I would even make a plan to record it so I would have it,
Yeah.
for
I mean,
always.
that's
But
that's how I first encountered Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, which is one of my favorite movies
oh
ever because it
yeah,
always aired on Bravo. And this is
yeah,
Bravo before it became like the home of the Real Housewives franchises.
yes,
But it was yeah, it would always air and there's commercial breaks. But I saw enough of it that like, oh, if this is ever on again, I want to watch it. And
mm-hmm,
sure enough, you just like Saturday night, you just turn on the TV and like, oh, there it is. Or what we would
mm-hmm,
have to do is like look in the newspaper, or if you had the TV guide or whatever. But if you looked at like the daily newspaper, it always had like the schedule, the TV
yeah,
schedule at the back.
yeah,
But yeah, like trailer spoiling movies is nothing new. Like it's always
mm,
been a thing. Like you could, like go back to like the Halloween trailer,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
1978. Like, it shows most of what's happening there.
Sure.
Um, but like not like I'm even thinking back to like the Hammer Dracula movies, like where it would
Yeah.
just show the entire thing, like leading up to the moment, or even like House on Haunted Hill, the original,
Yeah.
where she's like
Oh.
screaming over the vat of acid and the
Yes,
skeletons
right.
walking towards her,
They're
which is
showing
like
you
the
like pools of blood that, or the
yeah,
walls that bleed onto your
yeah.
hand, and people are just screaming and retching.
Silent Saturn is saying that the companion teaser actually shows the finale and reveals Jack Quaid being the bad guy. That's actually more of a
Mm,
spoiler. I'm going to push back on that,
wow.
Silent Saturn, because I mean, I don't think that Jack Quaid being the villain is all that much of a spoiler because at the beginning of the movie, you already mentioned it, is that that's the hook. It's just like, the two moments in her life, the day she met Josh and then the day she killed
Uh-huh.
him. So you know that the movie is going to end like there's going to be some sort of antagonistic push and pull between them. So I don't think that it's really a surprise that he is that. Like this isn't a Scream movie. It's not like we're seeing the beginning of Five Cream and because the trailer already showed us that he's going to be the villain that would like that's a completely different scenario. Here
Yeah.
narratively this is like it's already setting that up at the beginning. So I don't think
No.
that any of that is a spoiler.
You're also though making me yearn for like a bygone age, and we don't have to linger on this much longer. But
Yeah.
just you're making me realize two movies that are about a decade apart, actually. Um, the original trailer for All About Eve, where they're actually interviewing Betty Davis and Ann Baxter separately, like they're
Yeah.
different cuts, but they're interviewing them as themselves, but they're behaving as their characters. Like Betty Davis, please tell us, why do people want to know all about Eve? And she's like, well, Eve is unlovable. Eve is, she's just going down a roster and it's a whole thing. Eve is the golden girl. Eve is has an inability to love or be loved. Like, and it's all just dialogue that's ripped from the movie. So you're not getting any spoilers or anything like that, and you're barely
Yeah.
getting a point of view because you don't know, am I watching Betty Davis? Am I watching Margot Channing? What's going on? And then you get like Anne Baxter talking in a very Eve Harrington brother kind of way and everything like that. And it's enough to tickle your appetite to again let you know what you're seeing. And the other example about a decade later was the Psycho trailer, which had Hitchcock literally, visiting you from the set of, his latest
Hmm.
opus, Psycho. And he walks around and
Yeah.
basically shows you the hotel and the house. I think he starts with the house and then goes around the hotel, ends up in
Yeah.
cabin one, and pulls the shower curtain and reveals Vera Miles in a blonde wig screaming. So everyone's like, oh, so Vera Miles is going to get killed in a shower. you know? So, I mean, everything with the audience in mind, it'd be wonderful. I don't know if anybody can chime in with any kind of like recent creativity that people have found where we don't get a trailer that is just clips of the movie, not even spoilers, but just clips of the movie, and where
Yeah.
it's really just kind of like something to entice you that consists of other footage, stuff that you're not going to expect to
Hmm.
be in the movie either. You're like, this is clearly a trailer. I would like that.
Yeah, I can't think of the last time. Also,
Mm-mm.
Whatever Happened to Baby Jane is another one where they did that.
Oh,
So speaking of Betty Davis, but yeah, Robert Altman or
oh,
not Altman,
Aldrich?
Aldridge, yeah,
Yeah.
is just like this house and this is where
Yeah,
this
that's
tale is like
right.
taking place.
Oh,
But
I forgot about that.
the yeah, I can't really think of. I mean, I they used to do the ones that were not the trailers themselves, but the audience reactions,
Oh,
where
right.
you would just
Yeah.
have like they'd be like, "Oh, I saw this movie," and it was like they're just standing in the theater lobby and being
Right.
interviewed. I think that movie trailers are an art like in and of themselves,
Yeah.
and this is something that actually, like I've talked about with Eric, is that like trailers should be a category at the Oscars. And I
Oh,
think that if they
yeah.
were, that there might be some like creative effort put into them. Like even movie posters should also be a category at the Oscars.
Ooh.
And
Oh, my
like just
God.
all because these are so many different components of cinema that are being overlooked and are like clearly
Yeah.
hurting in this day
Mhm.
and age. And I think that if there was an incentive for
Mhm.
studios to actually put an effort in, we would start seeing like the beautiful like posters of yesteryear. Like think of like the Jaws poster. not a
Right.
big fan of the movie, but like that poster is probably the most iconic poster that has ever existed. And
Right.
you see it and everyone knows what that poster is, and it's just like it's perfect. And you
I
don't
always
get
go to The Exorcist too in my mind.
yeah.
70s was a great era for that.
The
Yeah.
Exorcist 2 or The Exorcist as well.
Exorcist as well. I don't mean the heretic.
I
I mean Exorcist with just like the silhouette of the Exorcist standing there with the light coming
yeah.
from Reagan's window shining
Yeah.
on him through the gate and everything. Oh,
Mhm.
it's gorgeous.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so if studios actually like there was a competition or a prize for best trailer, I could
Hmm.
see like that art form really coming back, and then just like
Oh,
using it as an opportunity to because it's like the trailer is a mini movie in itself, and it's like
yeah.
a short film in a way, and rather than making it this like advertisement for something by just showing an abridged version,
It
you
can be
actually
both.
you get
Yeah.
creative and do something
Yeah.
fun, and I
Yeah, the
really love that. Yeah.
inventiveness. That's really exciting. I love also, I mean,
Yeah.
what inventive categories to add to the Oscars, which need to be
Well,
overhauled anyway.
didn't they just add, is it stunts?
I don't know.
I think
I didn't
like
watch this past
stunts was
year.
I don't
Okay.
I don't know if it was added or it's going to be added, but yeah, I haven't watched the Oscars
Oh,
in
not in a
forever.
long time.
No.
I don't watch the movies. I used to, I think the last time I did was over a decade ago, probably like whatever year, like My Week with Marilyn and all those movies. The Iron Lady, I think, was that the same year? I don't know. Whatever year those
Yeah.
were out. And yeah.
Eric says stop being mean to The Exorcist too. Uh,
I said everything I needed to say in that pod, so I don't need to go on any further. I'm good.
yeah. The new Sean is saying that the new Toxic Avengers marketing campaign has been brilliant. I haven't
Oh,
seen
okay.
anything. I mean, is that one of the ones that you probably have to seek out? Because I don't know if that's like a mainstream.
I don't know. See, that's
Yeah.
this is the problem. When I avoid trailers because I'm trying to avoid spoilers, I end up avoiding all promotional material
Yeah.
that doesn't just kind of slap me in the face. The way I end up seeing most promotional material is either in people's stories on Instagram or in between people's stories, like
Yeah.
like where
Right.
and yeah, and
The
they've
ads,
even
yeah.
outsmarted me and everybody to the point where there's no longer just like one little panel that you can skip and just go to your next user. You have to, there's like three panels, so even if you skip once, it'll continue
You
going.
well, you slide.
Oh, I have to
No,
slide now?
well, no. I'm saying that
I
if you
tap.
want to, no. So tapping just like takes you through
Right.
each like story within whichever
Yeah.
user or
So I
ad
s-
you're in. But if you slide, you can just if you're just like, okay, like I don't want to see the rest of these people's stories, I'm just gonna like slide, like if you're on Tinder, you just slide,
yeah.
and then you get
Or
to the. Well,
I'm
I
not
was
on
just trying
Tinder,
to say
but
it in a way that might relate to you. That you might.
Grinder then. Although I don't have a Grinder profile anymore.
I
I
don't think there's
deleted
any
it.
sliding on Grinder.
No,
The
well,
sliding comes like after, but
no, it doesn't. Not anymore. Grinder's a bunch of flakes, but that's why I'm not on it anymore. But anyway, no,
um,
Insta. I didn't know that you could swipe to get through. Okay, cool. How
yeah.
did you just
No,
happenstance? Just
that has been around since the invention of
I'm
the
so
Instagram
old.
story.
God, I don't even.
Well,
I
you're
never
not
knew
old.
that.
You're just naive.
I just tap three times. I just go, and then I'm into the next story. But now that I know I can swipe,
Yeah.
okay.
There you go.
So
Um,
companion.
Also, Amethyst is saying, back to the trailers, is that you could also get those trailers with the fake scenes that aren't actually in the movie, which reminds me, like I think like Paranormal Activity franchise
Yeah,
a big proponent of that. The thing is that like that got a lot of I guess like
yeah.
negative feedback because
Flack.
yeah,
Yes.
people were just like, well, this wasn't in the movie, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, I kind of enjoyed the misleading of it with the sequels, but I actually was thinking when you were talking about trailers, I thought about Paranormal Activity because I think the trailer for that first movie, you talk about audience reactions. It was like black light, or not black light, but night vision, so everybody was green with like possum eyes, and they were
yeah,
all sitting there in the dark, like wincing and everything like that. And every now and then you'd get like an angle or something, alluding to something spooky happened, but it didn't linger enough for your mind to absorb it. So you just knew, oh, someone's bedroom, or ooh, someone's kitchen, like whatever. And you just see the audience going, ah, to it. That was the whole thing. And it said, and they were trying to get their movie brought to as many theaters as possible. So their campaign was contact your local movie theater and tell them you want
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity. And I thought that was ingenious. But you're right. As the franchise went on, like I think three was the biggest one, where it had the
Hmm.
girls, the two sisters doing Bloody Mary together. And then all of a
Right.
sudden I think they leave the bathroom in an angle that is used in the movie. But uh, what it ends up being something else in the trailer, it's literally Bloody Mary just kind of like emerging. You're like, shit, Bloody Mary is going to be real in Paranormal Activity 3. And then you watch the movie, there's no Bloody Mary.
No,
They
it's just a
do
bunch
Bloody
of
Mary, but
it's just
she's
a
not
bunch of
there.
witches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taylor McCampbell Navarro also says, I remember the Black Christmas remake having a lot of fake trailer shots.
2006?
I believe that's probably the one that he's talking about, but I'm also thinking of the 2019 one because that
Yeah.
had a few things altered as well for the trailer.
Okay.
So
Uh,
both of them. I don't even remember the trailer for the original Black Christmas. I promise we're gonna start talking about Companion here. Um, but the original Black Christmas trailer,
hmm
I wonder if that
I
gave a lot away.
I don't even. I'm trying to remember. I mean, I think they showed literal scenes from The Kill, but there's something about, again, there's something about the choppiness of like 70s
Hmm.
movies by and large. The fact that they can go for the action shot, but because so much of the filmmaking then was also built into like tension and
Yeah.
context and everything like that. So you get a sliver of something, it doesn't really spoil anything. It's more like, how did they get there? You know what I mean? There's a way to reveal action shots, your money shots, as it were, for your movie without, and not all of them, but something to like tickle
Yeah.
someone's curiosity without revealing, like, to actually create incentive. So they'll be like, well, how did you get there? How did they arrive at that particular
Yeah.
climax from wherever they started?
I was watching this video. I think it was probably like about 4 years old at this point. So it was, probably around the time of the pandemic. But
Hmm.
they're just talking about like the way that, scripts are sold these days and what studios look for. It's not really like the script themselves that they're interested in. It's more of just like the summary or just sort of like give them a short treatment of just what it is.
Yeah,
And what they're primarily looking for are the trailer moments. And there's like, I guess like
right.
he gave a random number. I think it was like seven trailer moments. And it's just like, because they're not thinking about the movie, they're thinking about like the trailer or the marketing of it. And
Hmm.
like, okay, so there's these seven moments that we can make sure to have in the trailer, and that's what we are going to do. And
Sure.
that's why that the film industry by and large is like this a lot of the time. And I
Hmm.
think that, you know, because of movies like Long Legs, which are very few and far between. And again, I did not like that movie, but the marketing for it was spectacular. And it really shows that there is a possibility that we can evolve, or the industry can evolve in terms of how these films are marketed in a way where we
Hmm.
can, build off of the intrigue and get people in seats that way. And I
Yeah.
guess maybe like more like lean into like the gimmickiness of it. Like I'm just thinking back to like the
Yeah.
William Castle days of movie going, where
Yeah.
there's got to be like a draw, because you have to think outside of the box. So I
Yeah.
think that there's definitely stuff. I know that like for Maxine, and this wasn't
Yeah.
like a big thing, but there was like a phone number that was, I think, shown in a trailer or something, and you could call that number, and it would like go through to a thing, and then there'd be Mia Goth on the other end saying like, "I'm a fucking star," or whatever the line is.
I just fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
But
Yo,
I
bitches can go home.
one thing that I wondered while I was watching Companion, like the movie proper, as it were,
Yeah.
well, particularly like just the credits and everything like that, because they open in a very, specific way, and then they come back at the end like with this incredible, lovely pink background and this red lettering. and I couldn't help but wonder because it seems so perfect. It's almost like the movie's packaged like a Barbie doll for me, you know.
Okay.
And yet the red and pink combinations, you usually only see those combos in reference to Valentine's, you know. And there was
Yeah.
something just so feminine and so I don't know, celebratory about love, like almost idyllic about it, the way love was going to be handled. So it made for a nice juxtaposition against like all of the, you know, the not just like kind of like the violence that you were going to be witnessing, but just I guess the absence of of love that would have been emanating from the majority of humans
Yeah.
on screen in
I
this
think,
movie.
yeah, I mean, I think that this could probably be lumped into the subgenre of Valentine's horror, which is, one of my new favorites.
Yeah.
This did come out January 30th, so, just in time for
Yeah.
Valentine's Day. And yeah, I never thought of it that way because like when I saw the credits, it was giving me more of like a like an invitation sort of thing. Like we're being
Ooh.
invited to this like weekend getaway. Like it was, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously like what it is like anything but because it's just sort of like it seems like more of just like a get together with friends. It's not like a formal party invitation. But
Mm-hmm.
for you to like mention more of like I guess like the packaging and like the Barbie of it all,
Yeah.
like that makes sense, or just like because yeah, I mean I could see an argument for like the Valentine's card thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that it's strong enough. But I
Mm.
feel like so this might be a complaint because I'm like I would have liked a little bit more elaboration on that because the credits are pretty quick. Like, and it's just like I
Mm-hmm.
think it's like two slides or something, and then it gets to the film, and then we see when they're driving around, you just like the big letters that exist in it's like the Universal logo up in the sky, this companion, and yeah, I mean, I know that that's another thing that most movies try to do away with is like the opening credits or just having any sort of something that is going to slow down the movie at the beginning. But I think for
Mm-hmm.
something that's like the presentation of something like that might have been conducive to the
Mm-hmm.
movie and just sort of like it builds a tone. So
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to see more of that and more of like almost like I'm thinking back to like the some of the Child's Play movies and whenever they like repackaged Chucky at the beginning, if this
Oh,
is
I
like a
see.
Barbie doll sort of thing, like I didn't need to see like be spoiled about what it is, but just like more so if that was the route that they were going of just like, oh, what is this about? Like this like packaging and this like this presentation. I think that that would have been a very intriguing way to open the movie.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. Yet I still I think I got subtlety. That's a thing that I really appreciated about. I didn't notice many homages in this movie, but one that I got pretty not strongly, but pretty directly from the onset when we see the moment that Josh and Iris meet each other.
Yeah.
The fact that she's pushing a cart in um, a kind of blissfully in a grocery store, and then has this wonderful uh, encounter with this handsome, clumsy young man. I felt like, oh, we're beginning where Stepford Wives ended, the OG one from the 1970s. Because spoilers for Stepford Wives, folks. Let's just put it this way: it doesn't look good for the women, and there's a woman who is pushing a shopping cart, and it's basically against her will at the end. And I mean, actually it's basically not even her. But so I mean, but just like this kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like this stand-in for like actual like human companionship
Mhm.
that has been like created, that has been completely like man-made. Um, just kind of like gliding through this domestic idealism. I don't know. There was something about that. I like that I got it, but at the same time, it didn't hit me over the head with it. Um, and I like that the first time I saw it because I didn't know where it was going. I just knew, okay, he's gonna die. Um, the fact that she was a robot, like I liked going through the movie again on the second screening while I was taking notes because I liked seeing all of the little things that Sophie Thatcher put into her performance. It's kind of like the gritted, not even harsh, but just like a little forced grin. Like every now and then she just kind of grit her teeth a little bit and just, talk,
Yeah.
trying to like I'm just trying to please you kind of thing. And I
Hmm.
think I just kind of felt this otherworldliness from her the first time I saw it, where it's just like, oh my gosh, where did you get plucked from, you little angel fairy girl? Like, what? You're not quite manic pixie dream girl, but you seem incredibly sheltered and sweet. And all I paid attention to was my impulse to protect her and to also want to empower her to just say, you know what, you don't have to worry so much about what other people think. And oh my gosh. And yet at the same time, there's this layer of empathy built into like that car ride. And as they approach the house, because she's got this anxiety about seeing Kat and, believing that Kat hates her. And he's just like, well, Kat hates everybody. So that doesn't mean, no, she doesn't hate you. And as someone who doesn't I'm not at my best when I'm in monogamous relationships. I can see her nerves on the outside, and I don't know, something about that hooks me in almost immediately with the movie. Like I was endeared by their meeting, and I chuckled at it when the oranges fell. But what
Hmm.
really got me was just kind of watching how vulnerable she was at the prospect of, a social gathering with people who she believes don't like her. That'll get
Yeah.
me anytime if it's done properly. I
Hmm.
don't know.
No, no,
Any of that strike you?
no, absolutely. It makes it like
Yeah.
I always love when, there's just like a hint of like something before it happens. So if there's just sort of like a mention of a character or even if like they already know each other, just sort of like set the stage. So then we have something to compare it by once we actually do see the initial interaction on screen.
Yeah.
So I liked all that. And I knew that you would like this movie because of several factors. Because A, yeah, there's the Stepford Wives homage,
Sure.
as it were, and B, it's characters who already have pre-existing relationships. Because I know that like Edward, like hates nothing more than a movie where a bunch of strangers are thrust into a situation together,
Unless it's
and
Saw. Or something like that. There are exceptions, but the Agatha Christie formula of just kind of strangers in some environment who don't know each other, and then they kind of find out what their context is. I don't feel it's done well often. Zach responds to it much more positively than I do
I mean,
on
I
the
think that
regular.
yeah, in some cases, like I think that it's a strong argument for certain movies, but I think like the ones that you've disagreed with me on, I disagree with you a lot.
I
So,
know.
but but there is a case for movies where everyone knows each other, and this is certainly one where yeah, we want to, especially if we're pushing this misdirection that she's not a robot or we don't
Yeah.
know what the deal is with her or Josh or any of these people, and we want to establish that they all know each other already. And
Hmm.
I wonder if like do do they know? I mean, I guess they probably would. I was going to say, like, has Iris met them before, or was her memories of them just sort of like created in when Josh booted it up? But
Oh,
I think that I don't think that that would be the case because
no. Yeah.
the what's I don't even know their names, but the
Eli or
Eli,
Patrick?
yeah, yeah, Eli and Patrick, like Eli didn't know that there was like a scheme going on, so he wouldn't have been
Right.
like, he's already familiar with Iris and
Hmm.
and all that, and I obviously Sergey is familiar with who Iris is and all that, so I think that
100%.
yeah, they've met before, I'm sure.
Well, they haven't met Sergey, but they've heard. I think all the younger people, shall we say,
Yeah,
all seem to have met each other and like associated with each other. Sergey's like really the new thing that's dropped in. I mean,
well,
I
this is
can't tell if he
his
knows.
house.
Yeah, and I can't tell if I don't think he ever knew Eli and Patrick either. But I didn't pay that much attention to that. It was more just kind of like getting a feel for if there's Who are you? Again, that it put me more less in kind of like the logical mind and more in just kind of like the reactive mind of like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going into an environment. Who do I know and who don't? Who am I? Who don't I know? Who am I
Yeah.
comfortable with and who do I need to flex a bit just to get through the social
Yeah.
grace of it all? You
Here's a
know?
question
Yeah.
for you and everyone in the chat here. Were you surprised to find out that Patrick was a robot as well, or was
I'm
that
glad you
kind of
asked that.
obvious? Yeah.
Well, because this is the thing. I went with my sister, and she didn't know until it was revealed. She had a full-on gasp the way I had a gasp when uh, Josh told Iris sleep, and then she boom, you know. I went and and my sister did the same thing when she saw Patrick have that done to him by Eli. I figured out, or at least I suspected, I kind of giddily started bouncing in my chair the first time I saw this when they had already like tied up Iris and she had broken free and she was escaping through this, I think it's a sliding door, but she's just
Yeah.
escaping the house. And Eli and Patrick are sitting across from each other, and Eli's on the phone. Patrick sees her leaving, and immediately he's like, "Oh, babe," and he's like, "Babe, I'm on the phone." And I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, Patrick's a robot."
Yeah.
Because there's something about the docile, like kind of submissive, like that level of submissiveness. I'm just kind of like, okay, you're a Stepford, you know, husband or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, if you were a person, you would have been like, "Babe, she got away," you know. But the reason he's not going to like take control of the situation to even alert him to like, it's like, no, I don't want to rock the boat because I'm programmed to. So that was the first
Yeah.
clue I had. So when it finally was revealed, I was just kind of like, I know it. What about you?
I mean, and this is part of like the spoilers of the marketing and knowing that Iris was a
Oh,
robot. Because I don't think that, I mean, if it was revealed in the trailer, I don't remember it, but I knowing that she was a robot,
mm-hmm.
once they got in and there's sort of like the three couples, I kind of my guess was that everyone had like a robot companion there. So there was just like um
Oh,
that Patrick was the companion of Eli. And then I thought, and this is more so in like what was being discussed, like when they had the conversation. And sorry, what is her name again?
who, Cat?
Girl, yeah, girl I don't like.
Yes,
I
no,
thought
none of
that
us like
Cat,
her.
yeah, I thought that Cat was also a companion. Just
Oh,
because they when they were having the conversation on the couch, and I
yeah.
mean this could have been taken like in many different ways, but she's just like, I don't like you because you make me feel replaceable. And even though that can, infer to the fact that she's human and Iris is a robot, I was thinking of it in more of a way like, oh, is Kat like an older model of the
Oh,
companion, and she knows that she's a robot, which then turns out to be the case with Patrick, who is an older model, and he
yeah.
knows that he's like, I don't think that they've had a conversation yet until like they're in
No,
the woods when he says to Eli, like,
yeah,
I know I'm a robot.
yeah.
So, I mean, I was like half right, but like when it happened with like this, like with Patrick's reveal, that it didn't surprise me. But I guess I was waiting for like the moment where what's her face? Cat was
Yeah.
gonna be was gonna be revealed, and it just never happened. Like we find out that she was given like well, she took something. She took a pill
Oh,
to
like an
settle
Ambien or
down.
something. Yeah, she
Yeah.
was just sedating herself like all the way, like
Yeah.
mixing pills and alcohol. But
Yeah.
I never suspected her because she seemed to have too much freedom. But now that you mention it, it would have been hilarious if
Yeah.
something might have like malfunctioned and that's why he stopped liking her, but he didn't have the heart to shut her down. So she becomes like this alcoholic robot who's just like, you know what? You can have them. I'm a little threatened by you, actually. Just like the socially inappropriate, the unstepford wife. But no, I never suspected it because she seemed too human. Like she seemed, her
Yeah.
insecurities seemed, I don't know, just this. How can I put it? They were less on the surface, like she was obviously sitting on them, and that feels very human to me. Whereas the
Mhm.
insecurities from Iris seemed very kind of upfront. There's one point where I don't even remember what the prompt was. It was somewhere around the time where Patrick's telling the story about the Halloween party and they're
Yeah.
talking, and Iris has a response. Another one that I didn't notice the first time I saw the movie. This time, I'm just kind of like, there are clues all over the place if you don't know what you're watching as to like
Yeah.
who she is. Because she kind of can't process something that somebody tells her, and she has this like blink, blink, blink moment and goes, I don't understand. And just kind of leans in, like, please explain, need to process kind of thing. I
Hmm.
didn't see it as robotic the first time I saw it, but oh, and Kat even has that comment right after that, I think, where she's talking about how she just feels like an accessory to Sergey. And she basically says, "Well, look who I'm talking to." And I remember the first time I saw the movie, I thought, "Oh, that's just a catty comment to Iris about just
Yeah.
being, this like arm candy for this guy when she
Yeah.
really feels very deeply about him." But no, what it really is still Cat kind of being a bitch. Like, because I mean, that's another thing. I hate the dehumanization of the robots in this movie because they're so often discounted because they're not real. The amount of times that Josh even tells Iris to her face as we move through the movie that it's just programming, like everything that she's feeling, it feels less an acknowledgement of the truth of the situation and more like his inability to acknowledge his impact, like an adult, like a fucking man,
Yeah.
on someone who was literally built to love him, at least as long as the rental fee
Hmm.
covers. That was another thing that broke my heart. I forgot she was a rental. I was like, oh my God, that's got to feel like, what is that going to be like in the
I think
long
that's
term?
more embarrassing
Because
for him.
oh, sure, sure.
But
But I mean, how horrible would that make you feel? That made me feel dirty for Iris. Just kind of like, you mean you're gonna send me back and they're just gonna into my head and then just clean the drive and then send me back out there for
well, like
someone else?
someone else has been in there. They had to like clean it out and yeah.
Oh God, and the amount of times that that was another thing. Like I didn't know what to make the first time I saw that sex scene between the two of them at the cabin where they're literally dancing and then the neck it jump cuts to him just going "Whoa!" like right on
Yeah.
top of her and she's just sitting there not enjoying herself at all. And I'm like, God, she's not even programmed to reciprocate.
Yeah.
And the most horrible thing about it, he doesn't even
Yeah.
care.
Well, maybe
Ugh.
that's part of the programming is that like gets off on that. It's just like if she's like not into
Oh,
it.
oh God, he's so disgusting.
You mentioned the Halloween party meet cute
Yeah,
or like that because like Silent Saturn did say that he knew that Patrick was a robot based on because they talked about their meet cute and it
right,
was like kind of told the same way as it was with Iris
right.
and I think that that's the moment where I kind of like it clicked with me and I where I'm just like okay so Patrick's a a robot and then I also thought that Cat was as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the seeds were planted, and I think that again, like if the movie hadn't spoiled the fact that Iris was a robot, I think that none of that would have registered like the first time you watch it. You just like you're just
Right.
seeing a movie and here's like this girl
Yeah.
who's like, just really like she's in love with love and she's just, like listening to this story and being like, "Oh my God, that's just like ours." And
I mean, I have a lot of writer friends who have said to me over and over again they don't care about spoilers because if it's written well enough, then, it should still entice you. It should still work,
yeah.
even if you know exactly what the story is going in. And on a certain level, I agree, but yet on another, I would never want to take away from anyone the exhilaration of
Yeah.
that first moment of him going like, Iris, go to sleep, and then go. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just like if a movie is rewatchable, and I do believe that this one is, that this is the
Yeah.
second time I've seen it, and it's still like that's the thing. It's just like the story unfolds in a way we're not given all of the information uh in one lump sum. Like, we find out at
Hmm.
the end of the first act that she is a robot, but then it's like some time passes until we find out that okay, he jailbroke her and
Hmm.
like fiddled with her programming so she would murder this guy. And
Yeah.
then that this is like because he has money and there's this. So there's all these like layers that are peeling back and we're finding out more reveals all along the
Hmm.
way. All the while, we're just sort of like rooting for her to get out of there
Yeah.
and like wherever she's going, whatever outcome that is,
Yeah.
like we just want that for her. So I think that like that's why the movie works. I don't feel that there's ever a lull in the story at
Hmm.
all. It
Yeah.
just like it moves along at a really nice pace. I think
Hmm.
it's like 100 minutes long, if that.
Yeah, it's just
Which
it's just under 40 an hour and 40 minutes, yeah.
mhm, which works perfectly. There was
Yeah.
another the other clue when he's like, "What's the weather?" and she's just like saying it in a very like
Oh yeah.
monotone voice, and then he's like, "Oh, it's so cute when you do that. Like I love you,"
Yeah.
and she's just like, I know."
Right. But then he uses it, as a point to illustrate to her. Because again, there's all of these
Yeah,
moments that I'm just gonna like, oh, that's odd. Oh,
yeah,
oh, why is that happening that way?
yeah.
Okay. And then contextually, it all makes sense once we find out the truth. Like all of a sudden, we can go back and look at all of those moments and go like, oh, okay. Oh, because there was even a line she said where it was when she was talking to Kat, and Kat started talking about like just being herself or something like that. And Iris just says, I wasn't built that way. Oh, because of what she envies about Kat and the way she
Mhm.
conducts herself. She says, I wasn't built that way. I feel like there's something inside me holding me back. And I was like, oh my God, she's so prescient without even knowing about her own predicament. But that's another thing that I love is that like there's this weird intuition that's awarded, or I don't even, is it intuition or is it's something that goes beyond programming and goes beyond like some kind of like logical manufacturing model, explanation or something like that. Because there's another point I mentioned earlier about like, her finding out that she's a rental and kind of wondering like, oh my God, so I'm just going to get passed to another guy. How do I know I wasn't passed to a guy before you? Oh my God. There's something about the long-term relationship that Patrick had with Eli that had enough of an impact on him. And I don't know if it was just a duration thing, the fact that they were together for many years. I forget if they say how many years they were together, but they say years.
Mhm.
And
Well, he's an old model, so
yeah,
yeah,
he's an old model, but and he also says he found out years ago. So he's
yeah.
been living happily, knowing that this is who he is, but knowing that he also kind of has everything that he needs. So why would he want anything else? And there's something about even his understanding about love, the fact that it feels like burning, like there's he associates it with violence and pain, basically, which explains why when you put his aggression level up to 100%, he has virtually no problem just excising people's lives, just to make things run more smoothly. Even though they seem like cold kills, there's I don't know, there's a brutality there that I think goes hand in hand with violence and pain.
Yeah.
Um, but what I love about it is the fact that like if we can jump ahead just to like when he's after he's gone all Winter Soldier, like I'm programmed to be this death bot or whatever. When he starts being reminded by Iris who he really loved with what he really had with Eli and everything like that. The fact that those memories were supposed to be wiped, yet they still find their way kind of like through the mist, as it were, almost like memories recovering, I don't know, being
Mhm.
revived like in his mind.
It was like a
There's
glitch. It was just like a flash of between
Yeah, well, because
the
it
meet
starts that
cutes.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
starts that way, but then it kind of like drifts in a way that feels much more organic and in a way that kind of like again floods him with um that gratitude and that I don't know, that warmth that he seemed to be feeling, that or beyond warmth, that heat that he seemed to be feeling with Eli that we saw right before, Eli was taken out of the situation. There's something about the lack of explanation for that. I kind of like not having that, like not wondering, well, wait, he's a robot, so that shouldn't happen. I kind of like knowing, like, you don't know what you create when you create something. There's something almost Frankenstein monster about it to me, where it's like, I'm in control, I've recreated life, I've sewed the dead body parts, I struck it with lightning, so now I know exactly what to expect with it. No, you don't, because you stop being in control once it has, you know, the power to create change in its environment because you're no longer the one making all of the choices. You're imposing the limits, but it ends there. doesn't mean that the limits are going to be acknowledged at all times. You know what? Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like being a parent in a weird way.
I mean,
Like,
what you're describing actually was one of my gripes with the
oh,
movie because I do require explanations for things like that because it's just like it's the movie is setting up rules, and I think
yeah.
that like this. I don't have a lot of complaints here, but I think that the end, there's a few conveniences that occur that feel like it's just like the screenplay is doing what it has to so it can wrap itself
Mm,
up easily.
mm,
And that was one of them of just sort of Patrick having that flash or just like, you know, remembering that or just because the way that it presented it, it was like, it was like a glitch in the Matrix.
hmm.
And if they had done it in a different way, like, a way that you're speaking of it, of just like her, her being prescient about, herself and that, and it was more so just because like these companions, like as they do, you know, attach themselves to a human and develop feelings, and even though it's
Hmm.
programming, it
Hmm.
still feels real to
Hmm.
them, that it does become a thing where it just like it takes over, and our emotions kind of, even though we're programmed in a way and we have to feel this way about someone, like love, like what is it they say that like love is not the opposite of hate or things like that,
Oh
but
yeah.
like
Hmm.
love can like
In
make you do like crazy things and stuff.
yeah.
So like if there was a scenario there and he's at this point being told like no, he loves Josh, and he's looking at that and just starting to feel like why would he lie to me, because that's what she says. It's just like I
Yeah.
I can't lie to you. And if
Yeah.
it was presented in more of a way of just like he was more like conflicting with his own feelings, and for all I know that's what they intended to. I don't think that it was um, brought across on the screen in
Mm.
the best way it could, because it made it look like it was like malfunctioning with the hardware or whatever. But if it was one of those things where he was just like his feelings as a robot were transforming, and he's
Hmm.
like, I don't know if this is true, but it could be, and that's enough for me to kind of feel like this like overwhelming sensation, which was then the thing that caused him to shock himself and like destroy his
Mm.
system altogether. That might have been something like if they had honed in on that aspect of it, I think that I probably would have bought that a little bit better.
Okay. Interesting. No, because you're bringing up a point that occurred to me. It did. I don't think it occurred to me the first time I saw it. This time, it kind of screamed at me. I remembered just in relation to, again, the programming versus feelings and are they real or are they not? Like, just because they're manufactured, does that diminish their value or their validity? And it
Yeah.
made me think about being in high school, being closeted in high school, having a conversation with a girl I had a quote unquote crush on because I was allowed to have a crush on her. And I think really I just kind of really wanted to be
You
friends
were
with her.
allowed to?
I was allowed, like by the confines of society, it seemed to be socially acceptable for me to admit to at least a handful of people that I was
Okay.
into this girl. I think I was into her, but not necessarily in a, hetero way, but more in a
Mm.
like, you are such an impressive person to me and you're so beautiful. I just want to be around you all the time and just know what you think about everything. I think that was enough for me to think, like, okay, cool, I'm straight now, right? Anyway,
Mm.
but I remember having a conversation with her in that way that you do when you're kind of young and stupid. You want to have conversations that are adjacent to the topics that you want to discuss. We were talking about love and about and about souls and stuff like that. I was very spiritual then too. I like had conversations with God and everything. But I remember I wanted to know if she believed in souls and she didn't. And I said, "Really?" Because I did. And she was like, "No, I feel like anything that we can attribute to a soul is just kind of like a can be easily answered by science, like it's all just chemical reactions. Even our personalities are just chemical reactions, with that are housed within this meat puppet that we were moving through."
Mm.
And I remember that was the first time I kind of went like, "Really? You think that?" Because I was a little faith boy,
Yeah.
and I
You're
thought
like, you
about
don't
that.
believe in astrology? Like, what is wrong with you?
No, but it was less like what is wrong with you and more like astonishment because I was like, like this girl who I admire so much, she doesn't believe in a soul, and it doesn't make me think like, well, you're wrong. It just kind of makes me want to think more about it. Like, oh, I never really chemical reactions and all that. She's like, I mean, if you want to get into it, we don't have time right now because we're on our way to class. But she's like, but I mean, if you want to get into it, you can always talk about maybe the origin of where those chemical reactions came from, and maybe that can tie in with some kind of spirituality. She was really super smart. Anyway, I
Yeah.
remember I was thinking about that while I saw this because I started thinking about this like programming versus, I guess, they never say soul in this movie, but versus
Mhm.
human, emotions and everything like that. And I felt like those are just synapses firing also. So if there's an argument to be made about humans just being a series of chemical reactions, like how is the science going on inside of something that is constructed by man any less valid? And therefore, how is it any more explainable? I think there was something about talking about things like, love and hate not being mutually exclusive. The opposite of love is indifference. I feel like I also thought about some could call them cliches. I thought
Mhm.
about the thing that I've heard over and over again about like at some point, some people say we're already there. Uh, the AI that we create, or shall we just, without pushing any buttons, just saying like uh, the the technology that
Mhm.
we turn to, that we imbue with more and more human access and ability to interact with us on that kind of level. The argument used to be at some point it's going to get so smart that we're not going to be able to control it anymore. There are people who are arguing that we're already there. That's what I felt was the movie was kind of like answering with Patrick's, because it started like a glitch, even like you were right, like cinematically, like there was like some kind of weird pixelated bar I think that ran through the screen that kind of like popped between Josh and Eli. But the fact that there was even an inkling, like some kind of, because he wasn't trying to think about Eli. He saw Eli's body and something kind of washed over him, and it was like ultimately his truth, the truth that had been housed in that shell of his for so long, and it just kind of, I don't know. It just I liked the ambiguity of it because it just made me feel like we've gotten to the point where we can't answer all the questions about the technology that we've created, which feels very tied into the way the world functions today. So I don't know. It didn't. That's why it didn't bother me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I just wish that there maybe like all this philosophical argument that you presented, if
Mm-hmm.
that would have been a thing, that at some point in the movie where a
Mm.
character said that like I don't believe in souls, maybe Kat would say that because she doesn't have one, and
She doesn't
and
have a soul.
yeah, and just but yeah, just like an argument like that would be made.
Yeah.
Sean is actually saying that his headcanon is that this takes place in the Terminator universe. The T-1000 was originally a fuckbot.
Ooh.
Um,
Mm.
so it actually
Nice.
I'm I saw something recently. I don't know what it is now,
Yeah.
or at least I think I did, was where there was some sort of like futuristic dystopian thing where like robots were part of the population and they're actually it was like criminal to do anything like
Mm.
bad to robots. Like it was like they had um citizenship and
Right.
autonomy and like it's just like to actually harm a robot is like a crime against humanity
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
sense. So like there's definitely it's it does bring up an interesting debate. And I mean, like, obviously this is a standalone movie. I would hate to see like
Oh,
see
the
more
companion
companions,
verse.
a companion verse. I mean, what is that? That's like three again.
Yeah, right. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we don't need that. Um, so yeah, I think I like what you said about that. I think that if that
Mm,
was a like a philosophical uh argument that had come up at any point in the movie, I think that that would have sold that moment a lot better because I feel like
Mm,
as it is, like the ending does feel like it feels super convenient
hmm
in the way that that things happen, more so
mm.
with, like her getting reprogrammed, but I'll get to that
Yeah.
in a bit. But it's just I mentioned the astrology of it all. I think that would be funny
Yes.
if there was like presets. And it's just sort of like, because you could,
No.
it just showed them like changing like the levels of just like aggression and all that. And
Yeah.
just like, you could just pick like what zodiac sign you want your companion to
Oh
be. And it just like
God.
will already like have them set to different levels.
Well, now I have a question for you. What if you
Mm.
had a bot that was gifted to you, so you don't have to like be burdened with
Oh.
the, acquisition of it, but it just arrived and they were like, "Sorry, dude, we got to deliver this. It's yours. And if you want to return it, you go through these channels, but it's going to take time. So until
Hmm.
that happens, here, you can program it. You can just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you could program a sign of the zodiac to your bot, what would you want to
Oh, I don't
assign?
know. That's a loaded question. But it does make me think because there's certain signs that are like more, shall we say, susceptible to not telling the truth than others. So, and
Ooh!
if the, if like, I guess like the conceit of the companion is that they can never lie, like, I don't know how that would work. Like, they would never fully be that sign, for instance,
Okay.
like one that's more prone to bullshitting.
I wonder, like, I'm trying to think about like the number of people who I've gotten along with, who I know I can get along with, and if I would want to just kind of lean on that, or if I would want to like program it to some kind of astrological sign that I don't have that much interaction with, just so I can get a
Yeah.
taste, you know?
Do you, I mean, do we have an idea of like what Iris's sign might be?
I don't know.
Because
You
that's
you
a
you have much more a much better grip on
it's
the
well, it's
signs and
interesting.
their
Well, and
characteristics than
well,
I do.
I mean, as a character, even though like there's certain things that she changes about her. I mean, we just see her
Yeah.
change like her intelligence, which is such a great, like, just like 100%, like
Hmm.
boom, and
Well,
then
my my introductory line was the wow, Josh, when she sees that he kept her at 40% intelligence,
yeah,
because that was one of those cases where she said exactly what I was thinking, where it's just like, you motherfucker. Like
yeah,
just dumb enough, you know?
yeah.
Like, I want her to function without me, but I don't want her, too smart, because then it'll make me feel dumb. And I'm like, you piece of shit.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I love that moment.
Yeah.
Anything that kind of awards her agency, like makes me it made me know, because with this particular screening I also had my mom watch it with me, because I knew she'd like it, because my mother loves movies where the female lead triumphs, and anytime I've shown her anything where the female lead does not triumph, she's been like, why did you show me that? Oh my God, it's so
Um,
bleak. I'm in such a bad mood now. So I know, okay, you need to watch your
mhm.
heroine triumph, and she
Yeah.
gets two in this one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I don't know. I couldn't assign one to her, but she is very consistent throughout the movie. Like her personality doesn't change at any point.
I, I also just love that they, I almost said award her, but I mean that she's granted from the
Yeah.
writers or from the technicians. There's this instinct for survival and self-preservation that, again, maybe she's just programmed that way, but it makes me root for her, regardless of whether she's like organic or not, or synthetic. Like
Hmm.
anything that wants to live and that fights to live, I'm just like, well, you deserve a
Hmm.
chance. You deserve not to
Yeah.
have your mind wiped and just be someone's fuck puppet.
I
Anyway.
love the running through the scenarios and just sort of like this, like going into the car and then talking to the car and like Iris, this was really a good idea. Thank you, Josh's car.
Yeah, her interaction with his car was so sweet.
Yeah,
And
because
even
they're both, robots, so of course.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
introduced in the beginning and then paid off a little bit later
Yeah.
when the car finally listened to her voice.
What other
I love
movies do we
that.
know? Like I was thinking of the new Texas Chainsaw with the self-driving car at the end.
Yeah, there'll probably be more and more. I don't know.
Yeah.
That wasn't one of the things that struck me so much, is like I saw her and I was like, why does this affinity feel so close?
This
Aside from just Stepford Wives, I thought about the Buffy bot. You
Yeah.
know, of course, I always
Oh my
root for her. I
gosh.
feel such empathy for
The
her.
Buffy bots. Yeah.
Yes. Justice for Buffy Bot.
Yeah.
We should
And
make
even
t-shirts.
the other, like the one where it's introduced, I forget the character's name, but because she's fighting it on the playground and then they're sitting on the swings and as she's like powering down and she's just sort of
Yes.
like hanging out with her and there's almost
Hmm.
like this empathy that she has for the robot. And then she goes
Yes.
home and finds Joyce, which is just what a what a gut punch. But
Okay, you're gutting me just talking about it. I didn't know we
the
were gonna talk about that today. Oh no.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
keep.
you were bringing up Buffy a lot, but
Don't put it on
a
me.
little some fun trivia that I noticed is that okay, so Iris, um, there's the song by the Goo Goo Dolls, and it's
Oh,
played
uh-huh.
in the movie. It's like you can hear it when in the flashback when Josh is recounting the delivery and the setup
Oh, and
of
I
Iris.
don't want the
The
world
world
to
to
see
see,
me.
which
Iris,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I don't think that Iris is mentioned in the song at all, but that
No.
song was it was on the album for the movie City of Angels, which
Uh-huh.
starred Meg Ryan, which is Jack Quaid's mother. So just a fun little bit
Oh
of
my
trivia there.
God, full
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
I also, wow, he could have just gone through like a Goo Goo Dolls playlist because there's that, I think it's also on the Dizzy Up the Girl album, which Iris is on. And I think it was called, oh, was it Slide? And he's singing, "Oh May, put your arms around me. What you feel is what you are, and what you are is beautiful. Oh May." So maybe the next model would have been May, or if they had arrived earlier, if they had
Yeah.
arrived like a few tracks earlier, she would have been May. But the song that I noticed, I don't remember who sings it, but I'm familiar with the
Yeah.
song. It's just when when they're all dancing together and it's playing. I'm not a boy. And I'm not a dun 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 boy. And I love that they paid off because in the beginning, like it's just playing, and you're just when you're kind of like watching Patrick dance with Eli, and you're just kind of like, oh, it's like they're setting a precedent, like to show you like he's not like a real boy. He's a Pinocchio. But
Yeah.
then later on, they play it again. She plays it when
Mhm.
she's trying to fool Josh into thinking that
Right.
Patrick was successful in extinguishing her and extinguishing the tech crew. So she starts playing it, and I'm just kind of like, oh, because she's not a boy, she's a girl. I don't know, I'm dumb. I got a lot of joy out of it. I was like, look at you, like reprising this song to I don't know for some
Mhm.
kind of like impact.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, so
yeah.
Jack Quaid, just since we're talking about him, he is
Yes.
essentially playing the exact same role
Yeah.
of Richie. Like it's just like
Yeah.
he does it so well
Yes, he does.
that it's just like we need him. He's going to be playing this part.
So utterly watchable. I
Yeah.
love that I feel nothing but disdain for the fellow. Like this is
Yeah.
not somebody who I'd want to like associate with for any amount of time. Just a sad sack of a human experiment. And yet at the same time, like I don't wince when I see him on screen. He's so incredibly entertaining. And all I want
Yeah.
to do is like really kind of watch him get his comeuppance, but I'm not focused on that the whole time. Yeah, he's mastered this. He could play
Yeah.
this kind of role,
Yeah.
and not like for the rest of his life, but he could always lean back on it and just kind of be that person if he needed to. And I
Hmm.
will embrace it. I'll take it
Do
any way I can.
you okay, I'm because he gets a pretty grisly send off here with
Yeah.
uh
Oh,
the
corkscrew.
corkscrew
Yeah.
bit. Do you have a preference for his demise here or in Scream 5?
Oh, Scream 5,
Yeah.
100%.
It's
Because
very yeah.
watching Melissa Barrera just go to town on him. Spoilers for Scream 5. If you haven't seen Scream 5,
Well,
why are you listening to
we've
this?
been
But I know,
spoiling Scream
right?
5
If you
for
haven't seen
the
Scream
whole
5 and you're
yeah.
watching a pod about Companion, I don't know what your life is, but
If you're like listening to our podcast where Scream
yeah,
seeps into the
Scream King
I got my
here.
ghost
Yeah.
face on yeah. Um
Captain Ghostface, that's you.
yeah. Um no, definitely like I always appreciated that with Scream 5. It's just like the brutality to
Mm-hmm.
which the Ghostface killers are taken out in that movie, because I think that those
Mm-hmm.
they have like the best kills themselves,
Yeah, he dies a
of anyone,
lot in
and
that
and
movie.
he they kill him a lot.
They
I,
do.
I just think of the line from Buffy, the movie, where it's just like,
Oh, kill him a
kill him a
lot.
lot.
Oh, R.I.P. Paul Rubens. But
Yeah,
no, yeah, I also like he did something like alluding to like Stepford Wives. This alluded to another movie that also alluded to Stepford Wives. I feel like Jack Quaid got his Get Out moment when he was on the phone trying to like get Iris back into the house, like trying to get her to trust him. And
yeah,
he was doing that Allison Williams thing of like, I have a completely dead face, but a
yeah.
voice that's emotional. Because he was just kind of like, I really feel, I don't even remember what his lines were, but he's just sitting there like completely deadpan, just going like, but I think we have something worth saving here. I think and there's no emotion on his face whatsoever. It's completely
Yeah.
strategic and cut off. And I was like, oh my God, you know what? It's a deep enough reach that I don't mind it. That's
Yeah.
a kind of homage. I'm just kind of like, okay, give it to me. I don't need like to
Hmm.
recreate an entire frame because they didn't even like. I think she's much more head on, and he was like in profile.
I
But
mean, that's one of the
I
best
got
moments
it.
in the movie of Get Out. It's
Yeah.
just like I don't know how you could recreate that at all.
100%. So they didn't try, but I still got
Yeah.
something. And there, another thing that was like less of an homage and more just kind of like a cultural touchstone for me was the moment Iris returns from her, shall we say, interaction with Sergei, and she's covered in blood. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, okay, look at us, joining the leagues of like on-screen horror heroines who like, get baptized
Yeah.
into the genre by being coated in blood. There is still something intrinsically that happens in my body that reacts to that I'm just kind of like, yes, I
Hmm.
want to root for a woman who's just covered in the blood of her enemies.
Yeah.
Dates
Very,
all the way back to
very,
Carrie.
very Sissy Spacek. Yeah.
Yes, and very The Descent, and very, I mean, there's so many examples,
Hmm.
but that's what I want to root for.
Brianna says dislike men that keep insinuating how nice they are, which was definitely
Ooh,
something that he was doing a lot.
he was a
Uh,
shit. I'm a decent guy. Fuck you. No, you're not. Oh
Silent
my God.
Saturn, I do think there's a bit of a difference between Josh and Richie. Richie is more pathetic, whereas Josh is a lot meaner in a dark way.
Hmm. I mean,
Do-
we do get a lot more interaction, or at least exposure to Josh in his true form than we do to
Mhm.
Richie. So
Yeah.
there's something to be
I
said
mean,
about
Richie
that.
is sort of like like with most Ghostface killers, it's revealed at the end, whereas Josh, yeah, we're seeing pretty much from go, which is why I don't think that
Hmm.
there's any spoiler in just like who he is and what
Yeah.
he's about.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a favorite scene in the movie or part of the movie, or just like a maybe a feature of Iris's that you enjoy the most? Because I was gonna say I really love the part where she's, trying to break out of the car and
Hmm.
the deputy
Oh,
comes around and and this is just part of her 100% intelligence, and she
yes.
knows like she can't lie, so she just quickly changes the language to German.
Yes.
And that, like, another thing for for Sophie, because I fully believe like that's her voice. She's saying all those lines like she's speaking Chinese and speaking in perfect whatever, like, they gave her the lines and she learned them
Yeah.
and just had everything that she had to say. And I wonder like if she maybe is German or knows German
It was
in
good. I mean,
yeah, because it's
I
very
wouldn't know. I'm not an
convincing.
authority, but it's convincing
Yeah.
to me, an ignorant American. But
Yeah.
we're North Americans. But no, that was definitely one of the things that came up when you brought it up. Another moment, I think, I live for moments like this, and the movie is littered with them. But one of the
Mhm.
ones that it just occurred to me is when the tech crew, what do they call themselves? The empath,
Oh shit.
empathics or whatever. the empathomedics, I don't know, whatever they call themselves,
Yeah.
but the empathic team, the empath team,
Yeah.
the good people who are doing the Lord's work.
Hmm.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, I like Teddy. I'm glad he survived, but it's when they show up and they retrieve her after, she's taken herself out. Oh, because that's another thing. I love the fact that like we get to see a conflict with her where he's telling her to shoot herself. She doesn't do it, and then he tells her to shoot herself in the head again,
Hmm.
shouting at her, and she says no, but she pulls the trigger, and I'm like, oh, but then we see her being retrieved and everything being explained. He's making up this stupid thing, and he forgot that his stupid police officer, Winter Soldier, there can't lie, so he has to like adjust his lies to suit whatever the officer in the corner is saying. With Patrick all decked out, and I forget the name of the police officer. It began with an H, something.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Hilliard. I don't know.
The
Um,
the one without a face now.
the one without a face
Um,
now, the poor guy. But I love the
yeah.
fact that they sit there and they tell him like, okay, so we'll just take it back and check the whatever it is, and then scrub the drive and just or scrub the feed and just
Yeah.
make sure that everything's on the up and up, so there's no like conflict. And he's just kind of like, excuse me, what? You know, because he never thought
Yeah.
he was being surveilled at all. And I'm like, dude, our phones surveil us. What
And
makes
then
you
the fact that
think?
it's, and I love that they're like, well, it was in your user agreement, like you would have agreed to it, like if you read it, right? And he's like, oh,
Nobody
yeah,
reads it.
nobody reads those things. No, that was a fun scene, and it was just like, yeah, I guess like I didn't think of this at first, but like the fact that Josh is doing all the talking rather than the cop on the scene, just like
Yes.
he can't lie, because it did feel very weird. It's just like why, like he's really like having to work overtime to sell this, and they're just like, well, we don't need any explanations. Like if the cops are happy, we are. And then of
Right.
course he turns around and walks away and just like, oh yeah, that guy did some shady shit.
Yeah, but they're
Um,
just the IT team. It's not their job, so I kind of
yeah.
understand where they were coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. Silent Saturn, who is German, says that I guess the German was very bad.
Oh,
No
that's terrible.
disrespect to the actress. So I want to know, like, was what she was saying though,
Accurate
like, was it accurate, or is it just like, was it a bad, I guess,
accent
like grammar or delivery? I don't, whatever
or
it had to have
dialect,
been.
because
Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
that's another thing. If you like, you can think that you've mastered a particular accent or dialect, and then you talk to someone from the region, they're just kind of like, I don't know where you thought you were from.
yeah,
So, I mean, I get
yeah,
that way when I hear people try to do like American accents across the
yeah.
pond. I've seen so many musicals that originated in the United States that they then do the production like off in London, and I watch, and I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, you're doing cartoony, you're doing like Haddonfield, Brooklyn, sitting there talking like this because everyone in Brooklyn talk like this, and it's
Boys,
like,
boys who keep secrets don't get pudding for
yeah,
dessert.
there you go.
Custard.
Custard. Don't get
Custard.
custard for dessert. You'll have porridge in the morning.
Drink your milk with your spaghetti.
Yeah.
Um,
drink,
I mean,
drink your milk or I'll break your head. Go
even
on,
if
sorry.
if the German is bad, I mean that could just be a thing. It's just like, they're working on it. The next model will have better language skills. But it
Still, I
works.
mean, she should be
Yeah.
adept. Like, it should be like if you just program your iPhone to all of a sudden, like, just have
Yeah.
everything in German, like it does. I mean, but I wonder, what's the efficacy of the translation
Yeah.
there if you switch from an entirely one language on your phone to another? Are you
Silent
going to notice
Saturn,
glitches?
yes. Yes, grammatically it was correct, which is not a
Okay.
given in movies. Sometimes they just speak gibberish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like me
Hmm.
speaking French. I can't do it.
The the
Bonjour.
yeah.
That's all I can do.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember like I think I might have said this before, but in I think it was like grade 5 or 6 in French class, and I was like went to another school just to like see if like I might have transferred or whatever. Like we were gonna move and
Yeah.
we were looking for a new placement, and I went there for the day, and they had French class, and I didn't know any French,
Hmm.
and we had to sit there and like be part of the lesson, and And of course, they're like, "Oh, here's this new guy or here for the day. Like, let's ask him questions." And all I knew was no and we. So like I would be asked a question and I would say that, and then they're just like, "Well, do you?" They'd ask some like a follow up in French, and I'd be like, "No." And they're like, "Do you want to elaborate on that?"
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was just like,
I think you
"We."
told this
Yeah,
story
yeah,
before.
yeah.
Yes.
I don't know anything. The only thing that I ever like in terms of like another language
Yeah.
was Hebrew, which I had to learn for my bar mitzvah. But I
Yeah.
hadn't like I learned like how to like I could see the letters and I'd know how to like speak what it was like phonetically, but I didn't
Yeah.
know what any of it meant.
Right.
So yeah, you just have to like learn the whatever the passages in the Torah or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know what I'm saying, but I know I'm saying it right. So
Still connecting you with the ancients, which is all that
yeah,
really matters.
yeah. But yeah, Iris is like she's speaking Chinese.
Yeah.
She's speaking was like
I wonder if
Portuguese. There was one
she's.
that he's like, I don't know what language this is, but you
Oh,
can speak it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is he saying Tagalog wrong or like because I forgot what he
Yeah.
said, and I was like, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a real language, and just again, ignorant fucks like myself aren't gonna
Yeah.
recognize it. One thing I
But
did want to comment. Oh yeah, what were you gonna say?
well, I was just gonna say, like, if she's able to speak it, she should also be able to understand it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just sort of like, well, she does say like she spent a year, like based on her
In
memories in
Japan. Yeah.
Japan. So yeah, it's just like, would that be a thing? It's just like, I'm Iris. I know like every language in the that exists.
Oh.
Like you know every language. Yeah, every language.
But then he asked her, "You speak Spanish?" She was like, "No," and then she started speaking Spanish. So,
Yeah.
but no, the I don't know. There was something about just the comedy of the situation. Like it's,
Mm.
okay, so now I know that, she kind of sucked, but but it's okay because there's something about like the integrity of the performance on a comedic level, like the timing worked. I love the fact that we're just basically reading um, reading subtitles that are telling the truth, exactly what the situation is. So we know everything that's going on and the cop doesn't. And that's, I don't know, that's always great for a
Yeah.
great device for comedy. Speaking of the cop, I did think in a very non-comedic turn, I th does he have the most brutal death in the entire movie? Because that's another thing. The kills weren't often brutal because they were graphic or even fully violent. I like the fact
Mhm.
that they were kind of sparing, like the cops was brutal and violent. But I
Mhm.
think about like the two key characters, like with Eli, it's basically like we see a hole blown through his back. And then
Yeah.
with Kat, we basically see like we don't even see it. We just know that a knife has gone into her. And
Yeah.
then we see as she walks away from it, he's holding it like right where the small of her back would be, and it's got blood on it. So we know exactly what's happening. I love the fact that I can still feel the impact of those kills, and still gasp because again, the movie did enough building the agility of that moment. Like the temperature is up
Yeah.
so high by the time we reach that particular kill that it's more about like a life being doused out than it is about like, oh, I'm wincing, that's so violent. So finally when it gets to
Mhm.
the cop, it actually lands for me because nothing's been deadened for me. I'm actually kind of, that was the only
Yeah.
thing that I think actually did make me go, oh man, because when the corkscrew did finally go into, I almost called him
Yeah.
Richie, oh, it did finally go into Josh's temple, I was just going,
Joshy.
yes.
The yeah, well, Amethyst says that a lot of the other deaths besides the cop felt like PG-13 horror.
Hmm.
The thing is, like, I don't think like Companion is not technically a horror movie. I think it's listed as a sci-fi thriller, but it's just like it's in the family.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
horror adjacent, as we like to say, and I would proudly put it on my horror movie shelf.
I would too.
Um, I think that I mean, we've talked about this. Everyone kind of goes to horror movies for different reasons or
Hmm.
finds different things. I think that like it's good to I mean obviously like I appreciate story and character above everything else. So that's why the deaths, I'm not really like looking for them here. I think that if this was more of a straight up horror movie, I might have wanted a little bit more.
Hmm.
But I always appreciate like just like a balance of everything and just sort of make sure that we're firing on all cylinders. So I think
Hmm.
that yeah, there definitely could have been more to this movie, but it didn't feel like I didn't miss it, if you know what I
No, it
mean.
got the job done as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it also, I've said this, I don't know about often, but it's something that I lean on every now and then. There was a very literary feel. Like I did feel like I was reading a really well-written short story when I read this movie. It felt maybe because of the sci-fi angle. Great sci-fi I tend to associate more with writing on the page than I do with, um, and even like sci-fi adjacent, like something that's about like the dehumanization of our society and what are we moving towards in the future, the things sci-fi really loves to go up front with like the questions of like our
Yeah.
moral character and our like basically where's the limit seems to be a question that gets
Right.
asked in a lot of sci-fi, and I feel like that's present, albeit obliquely, in this movie.
So the writer director Drew Hancock,
Hmm.
there's not really like movie titles that like I think
Yeah,
he's mostly done a lot of television.
yeah,
My Dead
writing,
Ex, Suburgatory,
yeah.
Blue Mountain State, or
Some
just
stuff for Tenacious D, I saw.
to name a few. But
Yeah.
what something interesting is he is writing the upcoming The Faculty reboot
Oh,
sequel.
I didn't know about
So you're talking
that.
about sci-fi. Um,
That seems
that
like
could
it'd be
be
a good fit.
that could be interesting. Like I would like to see what he does with that.
Yeah.
That's actually giving me a little bit more promise. Like rather than just like have the same slew of like people who are coming in and just like doing all like the screams and the whatnot. Like
Yeah.
we're doing the requel thing. It's just like no, I think that we talked about this when we did the faculty episode, is that like there possibly be, I mean, it's called the faculty. What if we saw it from the faculty's perspective and instead it was the students who were the aliens now, and it was more of a commentary on like generational
Oh.
divide and just like the not really understanding or connecting to, this where we currently are at.
Yeah, there's definitely promise given like my exposure just to this project alone. Like it
Yeah.
does make me optimistic as to there at least being a point of view to anything
Yeah.
that he's going to embark on from here on out. Like I hope that that was largely had to do with him, and because he was both the director and the screenwriter on this,
Yeah.
there's a strong argument to be made that
I wonder if
he
he
his
would also,
influence is there.
yeah, I wonder if he would also be the director on this because like just it just has him listed as writer and then there's producer Robert
Oh.
Rodriguez. So
Okay, because I did look
yeah.
him up as a director, and it looked like he has one project as a director on the horizon called My Wife and I Bought a Ranch. It looks like he's writing and directing it. It's still in development, so very early stages. Who knows if it's
Yeah.
going to happen? But
Interesting title.
just the title in and of itself, I'm like, okay, I want to see some
Hmm.
dude and his wife, or some lady and her wife buying a ranch and getting fucked over. Let's. It sounds like it should be innocent. It could be even a children's book title, but things could turn sinister really easily. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
The other thing.
Silent
Oh,
Silent Saturn,
yes.
just saying Companion is my number one horror movie of the year so far.
Oh, that's lovely.
Strong start in January and then kind of dipped. So
Oh,
that's I guess in regards to every other horror movie that's come
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
I would say,
2025.
yeah, I mean, I've been very vocal about, just the state of horror and just my
Hmm.
opinions on things. And I know that like a lot of people, as they say, are feel that they're being well fed. I can't really agree with that, but I do think that like Companion has been my favorite movie experience in a while. Like I really did enjoy Alien Romulus last year, but it's
Mm,
just like the last two things I think about are like X and Pearl from
yeah.
2022, and before that, Last Night in Soho. So it's just and even the menu, throw that in there as well. Like I really enjoyed that. So
Yeah. A
you
lot of
know,
female-centric horror coming forward that is worth mentioning. Like I thought about the Ty West Mia Goth trilogy now.
yeah.
Let's hope it remains a trilogy. And I mean, I'll see the fourth movie if they release it, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought about that. I thought about you said the menu. I also thought about Last Night in Soho. Thought about Smile and Smile 2. I thought of, like there's so many stories that have like women at the center right now that feel incredibly timely. I'll just say like I'm glad someone somewhere is advocating for women. It makes me happy, and empathizing, like with their situation. No, but that said, I also was really, really glad to get Lucas Gage's performance in this because this was the first thing I think I knew I saw him in. And then I saw Smile 2, and he's in that, and I was just kind of like, oh my God, and he giving a completely different level of performance.
Yeah.
And then I saw him on Taylor Tomlinson's show After Midnight. He was on the panel with the actor who played Teddy, and he's incredibly endearing and funny as well. So I think I'm a fan. I need to watch. Apparently, he was on Euphoria. He's on The White Lotus. He's in Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse remake. um,
Roadhouse.
your Roadhouse.
He's been popping up in a lot. And like my first exposure to him, which I think a lot of people's first exposure to him, he was doing a I guess like a Zoom audition back during the pandemic.
Oh,
And you probably remember this, the director thought he had him on mute, but he didn't, and he was like talking shit about him. He's just like, look at these actors, like they're so broke they can't even afford a decent apartment. Like look at this shithole
oh
behind
my
him. And he's just like, hi, I think, just so you know, like you're probably saying things, I can hear you, I'm not on mute. I know my apartment is shitty, and that's why you should give me this job, so please hire me. And it was
Good
like
for him.
it was one of those things that just like and it became viral. I don't know if like
Mm,
he posted or whomever. But like and
mm.
obviously like that director, whoever it was, got into a lot of trouble. I don't know who that person was or where they are, but it
Ooh.
certainly like it that for him sort of like uh brought his star up because
Hmm.
suddenly he was just in, because it's you mentioned like he was endearing, and I think that a lot of people were very endeared by that video alone and just sort
Yeah.
of like, like okay, let's put him in things. And he's turned up in a lot of stuff. And I actually I mean, I'm not gonna show my hand, because obviously we'll have our cherry on top thing. But I think like he was probably my favorite part of the movie, just because like his
Mm.
range as
Yeah.
an actor,
Yeah.
because he goes from like the one version of Patrick to like this Terminator version of Patrick, and he
Yeah.
just he
Yeah.
plays it so well. There's just like a subtlety to his performance, and
Yeah.
everything that I've seen him in, like he's never, like he's always playing like supporting roles. So it'd be interesting to see him like as a lead in something, because I think that
100%.
yeah, he definitely has the chops to do it.
Yeah, he could carry something, but at the same time, I also love the fact that I've seen him kind of featured in, what little I've seen. I want to see more, but the fact that he's a featured actor, I think there's also just more opportunities to divert yourself from just kind of being the handsome guy on the poster. Like
Mhm.
there's something. Sometimes it can be more fun and more interesting to play featured characters, and I'm glad he's leaning into that. It makes him more like a
Yeah.
character actor
Oh,
in
he
the
was
traditional sense to
also
me.
yeah, he was also in season 4 of You.
Of You, I saw
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I didn't see it, I didn't watch it, but I saw that he had done that.
yeah.
No,
I
and
didn't see season 5, so
I
I
haven't
I
exposed myself to
stopped.
any of the show yet. I have to
Mhm.
start. I haven't even started. But no, one thing that I loved about just Patrick as a character was like, I remember the first time I saw the movie, watching him tell the story. See, the story endeared me just because I loved seeing a guy who's kind of like traditionally aesthetically handsome talking about how he saw the most beautiful man he'd ever laid his eyes on, and it's a guy who's like plus size and adorable, And I was just kind of like, oh, that's really sweet. You know, I like you. You're a I totally fell for it. And then when I realized, like, oh no, you're just a bot. You're saying that because, like, and I thought, oh, you were just saying that because you were programmed to. Oh, that's sad. But then seeing, I was angry at myself later on watching the movie the first time because I thought, like, well, who am I to denounce like his justification for feeling love? Like, he's spent years in this relationship with Eli. If he identifies it as love, who am I to tell him that it's just programming? But I also love the fact that like so much of what they shoot, particularly him, because um, Sophie is very, very pale. There's no way to mask that throughout, like, the movie.
Mhm.
Whereas, so they didn't even make an attempt to. She's just kind of pale, and then she's pale. But I did notice that he's mostly dimly lit in all the scenes prior to him being told to go to sleep. Then after he's told to go to sleep, all of a sudden you can tell there's something to the foundation that they put on him that is a little bit more orange, a little more synthetic looking, that just makes him look a little less natural to me. And I don't know, I was kind of like, oh, nice touch. He looks like a Ken doll. And I don't know, one little detail went a long way with me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, I
Well, I
don't.
was gonna, I guess,
Yeah.
like talk about the ending. You mentioned this Teddy character
Yes.
who, uh, oh, no, um, the the ending, as it were, of just sort of like her like getting like from this what I consider to be a non-character who just sort of shows up and like, oh, give me this, like reprogram me so I can, have like her own free will or whatever. It just felt, like I said, like very easy.
Mm,
It kind of came out of nowhere. It felt like it was one of those things that she didn't actually earn herself or have to like overcome. It was just sort of like an easy gift that she
okay.
got. And I think that if there was some sort of way, because I could buy the fact that okay, he had set her shit to 0% intelligence and then she
Yeah.
shot herself, but then they were rebooting her. So I mean, like, okay, if things went back to like the
Went back to factory
regular,
settings.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
can, but if she was still there, I can buy that. But just this like suddenly there's like this they're right outside of the house. Like Josh is still inside. Who knows what she's asking for, what needs to be required. There's a dead body in the seat. There's dead bodies out. There's dead bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a malfunctioning like a broken robot. And it's just
Right.
like, hey, can you just like restructure my whole like this newbie who's like, he's pretty green on the job because like his
Hmm.
superior is like having to tell him things, but he's going to be the one that knows how to like completely reprogram her to have this thing, and this is all going to be done very quickly for her to like go inside. I think that again this is going back to if there was more of this philosophical debate that was in the movie, and that kind of explains, why Patrick had that glitch or just saw that okay, there's, I did have feelings before. This isn't authentically me. That
Hmm.
if that was something that as a companion, she sort of overcome that or overcame that programming herself just by finding the glitch in the system and the fact that like almost like the Dorothy like the ruby slippers, you had the power to go home all along. If it was more of like I would have appreciated and like bought something more along the lines of that rather than this like Deus Ex Machina coming and being like, sure, let me program you, and then her like coming in and being like, I made a new friend, Teddy from Empathics or whatever, and it's
Hmm.
just like, who? I don't like it just felt a little like oversimplifying a situation just for the sake of getting that kill at the end and letting her be free.
If she could have just killed him, I'd probably agree with you emphatically. I can see your point. That said, it doesn't bother me because I'm too, because there's still a struggle. He's still, she's threatening him, and she's telling him like she can kill him now, and so he should be afraid. Don't take one more step, and he takes two. And basically like disarms her and continues with the because then yeah, that's when he knocks her down and then starts chasing her and everything like that. So there's something to it that I think lent itself to the climax of it all, to the fact that there was still a place to go. There was still, she couldn't just go in there and just smile and grin and then take him out and feel good about it.
Mhm.
Because again, like if we're arguing the validity of like these robotic feelings, then there is still something in her that even if it isn't like still in love with him, that still might not want to completely extinguish him and then have to live with that for the rest of her life. Maybe there's some other way, or maybe, or even like thinking you're puffed up enough to think that you can do it and being human enough or
Mhm.
endowed with enough humanity to then come get into the clutch and start to hesitate and start to wonder like what brought us here. I mean, I don't know, to not even be able to articulate it, to just have it be a gut reaction and all, because all of it like bleeds the synthetic and the organic, like I mentioned before. It just kind of like calls into question like, well, what it, you know, what was manufactured, what is just programming, and what is like something that's worth, you know, just being
Mhm.
respected and just acknowledged as love or humanity. I don't know. I'm on board with it. Yeah, it wasn't a deal breaker for me. I don't know if you didn't say it was a deal breaker for you, but I know
No, it's not a
it still
deal. I mean,
bothered you.
yeah, this is still like everything that I said before,
Hmm.
how I feel about it. It felt a little convenient. Like it was
Okay.
sloppy. I think that it could have been more self-contained rather than just like having these like I still would have appreciated them coming in, but like her like saving this guy's life and him being like, "Oh, I'm indebted to you. What can I do?"
Yeah.
and et cetera and so forth. I think that if she had just, because that was the struggle. It's just like there's still part of her programming that, she loves Josh, but again, it's just like just because you love something doesn't mean that you're incapable of doing harm to that person.
Yeah.
So if that was just part of like, just like she's gaining this humanity, and even if she is
Mm.
getting like self-control, then it still would be a thing where it's just like this is going to be difficult for me, but I'm going to do it. And I
Yeah.
think that, that didn't need to be achieved through, oh, just come in and like make me a completely different kind of robot.
Yeah, but you're also, it's fun. I like talking about this because you're also making me realize that the maybe one of the reasons that like the aggression boost for
Hmm.
Patrick didn't hurt, but the fact that he describes even when he's at his most docile, describes love as something violent and painful inside of him that's burning. Um, that she never described it that way. With her, it was always more like a sense of like, oh, I guess she even, did I write down like, oh, it's suddenly there's meaning, suddenly there's purpose. Like it obviously meant something different for
Yeah.
her. So again, like there's something incredibly human about that, or
Yeah.
a human layer built in because the way one person loves is not necessarily the way another person is going to love. And do we intrinsically understand why? Maybe not.
Hmm.
Aside from everybody's different, everybody's got their own inclinations and their own instincts and
Yeah.
impulses that are just again synapses firing. So,
Yeah. There you
but
go.
I did want to ask you that just at the very end, is that Sophie Thatcher in a blonde wig at the end, sitting being the other bot, noticing her? Because I looked on
Oh,
IMDb and I didn't see anyone credited for that, and I didn't think so the first time I saw the movie. This time around, I was looking at her face and I was like, I that could be her. It's a different makeup,
oh, I
but
didn't
there's
even,
this and there's yeah.
that would
But I
make
thought she was looking at
sense.
another model of
Yeah.
her, but with a big blonde bouffant and like
Oh, I'm gonna
harsher
go.
eye makeup.
I'm
But
yeah, I'm gonna go watch that again
okay,
because I think I still have the rental for another day.
cool.
Because yeah, that would make sense. Because I was gonna ask you like, is that like, do you think that that's like a companion bot, or is it just like sort of
I
like
totally do.
a woman who is sort of like, oh, am I just basically a robot to this guy yelling in the car?
Oh, I think
Um,
the most important thing I think is the affinity she
yeah,
feels for the woman, but I
yeah,
definitely got bought from it. And
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what
Amethyst
you thought?
said I figured the other bot was Sophie. Grant, yeah, that definitely was another her.
Nice.
So yeah, there you go. I guess that answers the question. Anyway,
Sweet.
I think that it's time to get to the cherry picker.
It's not like we kill people on purpose.
All right, we need a cherry on top. And, I kind of discussed this, but I mean, I still think despite all of that, I would still say it's Iris.
I would too.
Yeah.
Patrick definitely deserves his due because of all the reasons we've mentioned. But
Yeah.
Iris and Sophie Thatcher, like the amount of things that she had to be subjected to, the amount like I'm glad they found somebody as good as Lucas Gage to play Patrick. That said, if they found someone who wasn't as good as him, it wouldn't have ruined the movie for me. If you don't have Iris, you don't have the movie.
Yeah.
Just based off of like how much the movie depends on her, I'd say she's definitely cherry on top.
Yeah.
She would never be in the cherry picker.
No, I agree. All right, last week we asked you who deserves to die the most in Smile. I nominated Trevor, you nominated Greg across Patreon, Instagram, and YouTube. The total was 360 for Trevor versus 159 for Greg.
Woohoo! Thanks, guys.
No boo. I think the thing for me is who is supporting his partner? Greg is supporting his partner, Holly, to a comedic effect. Holly and Rose don't have a great relationship, so Greg supporting Holly and not Rose makes sense. But Trevor is with Rose, and he seemed to give up on her when she needed him the most.
Ooh, good point.
Very good point. Yeah, I mean, even though Greg is kind of a shit, he's there for his woman. He's fucking up the bruschetta, but his intentions are good. Yeah.
They're still actively choosing each other in that couple. The other couple,
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on. They were
Yeah.
both trying to qualify. You know what? Rose was still calling out Holly about like, trying to like qualify for some life or whatever. Like she was doing the exact same thing with what's his name. With the house and with the cat and with the, I don't even know if they were getting married or if it was on the horizon, but with Trevor, like that was the bare bones of a relationship. That was not a relationship.
Yeah.
There was no meat, no blood, no pulse,
Yeah.
nothing.
I think
Just
I think Holly and
exoskeleton.
Greg are just misunderstood,
I think Holly is for sure. Greg, no, but go on.
Sure, whatever. Thomas Baker, easy. I'm going with Trevor. He just decided to give up on her, even though she needed him the most.
Okay.
Lexi Machinsky. Trevor gets worst horror boyfriend award, but that's maybe due to the script and the acting and not the character. He starts out super supportive during dinner with her sister and then turns a full 180 and changes as a character. I feel like his aggressive reaction to her being paranoid came out of nowhere. I remember watching this for the first time and thinking this actor deserves a Razzie, especially during the fight scene outside of the car. But that's just my opinion.
Wow.
Ouch. Yeah.
Brutal. I love it.
Yeah. Amethyst Frost. I actually forgot Trevor was in the movie despite being a bigger role. But I always remembered Greg being a little twerp who both sisters basically told to F off in the scene where he tries to keep Rose away from Holly. So yeah, him. Alex is lame. I vote for Trevor because he's useless and I honestly forgot he even existed until I listened to this episode.
Nice.
Jessica Jan Pasco. I hate everyone in this movie except Kyle Gallner, so I think both deserve to die. But since we have to vote for someone, I'm going with Trevor for being terrible at supporting his traumatized girlfriend. Joaquin Violi asks, why not the sister?
Because I think she's redeemable. I think there's dimension to her. I like watching her.
Silent Saturn. Rose was crazy and didn't handle the whole thing well at all. I can't really blame Trevor for taking a step back from that TBH.
Oh my God.
There's only so much one can do. They were ill-matched from the start. My vote goes to Greg.
Woo!
So it looks like
Tell
Silent
us how you
Saturn is
really feel.
Silent Saturn is siding with you, but in an argument that like you seem
That
to be very against.
I would never make that argument, but thank you
Yeah.
for siding with me.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
yeah, it's we're standing shoulder to shoulder, and it's like, are we really fighting the same war? I don't think we
Yeah.
are.
Jackie Simmons. Trevor seemed inconvenienced rather than concerned by Rose's rapid decline, which is,
Mm.
unfortunately, a typical initial reaction to struggling loved ones. But even before
Mm.
she completely unraveled, he just seemed more upset about broken glass. Did he
Yeah.
even like this woman? He threw
No.
her mother's mental illness in her face and then went behind her
100%.
back to ambush her with her own therapist.
That's right. I don't think we even addressed the fact that he's sitting there just like, I have a right to find out what I'm signing off on or whatever. And I'm like, okay, them's breakup words. Deal breaker, deal breaker, deal breaker. Like, yeah, like, yes, you do. But the aggressiveness with which you direct that at me, fuck you. This is over. One of us is moving out.
Yeah.
Go on,
Oh,
Zach.
also, this is in addition to that
Oh, oh.
from Jackie Simmons. Also, just thought of this. Of course, he has to die. His name is Trevor. Name a horror movie Trevor who hasn't done wrong.
Oh my God.
What
Horror movie
wasn't
Trevor.
was Trevor the name of the douchey guy in Friday the 13th, 2009?
Oh shit. I'll look it up. Keep going. Maybe somebody
Uh,
in the feed knows, but I'm gonna look.
and
Hold
Grant
on.
Dempsey says, "I'd like Trevor to spend a week with the entity."
Oh my God. Like the one of the movie, like the smile demon,
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
the entity, the titular entity from the Barbara Hershey movie.
I
'Cause
I
that's
think that
terrible
this
too.
the smile entity. Um,
Okay. He
I'm
was Trent. Travis Van Winkle played
okay.
Trent. Close enough.
Yeah. Um, Brianna says Scream 4. Jill's ex-boyfriend Trevor. Amethyst, Trevor
Right.
Kane and Chucky season 2. I'm
Ooh,
he
yeah.
I'm
He
literally
deserved to die.
control plus F my spreadsheet. That's right. Amethyst has the spreadsheet that's linked on the YouTube channel. You could go and look at all the data of past uh
That's wonderful.
cherry pickers.
Yeah.
Um yeah, Trevor. Yeah, because I searched like Trevor in horror movies. We've got Trevor in Smile, Trevor in Scream 4. Is there a Trevor in Sinister? Sinister? Um
Sinister.
anyway.
I'm horrible
Um
with names. I won't remember.
yeah. Anyway, so I get first pick here.
Okay.
Hmm. I'm gonna. I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise because I already
Yeah.
mentioned, but I'm gonna nominate Kat, and the reason why I would nominate Kat over Josh is because Kat deliberately lied slash withheld the truth about Sergey. She said that he was like a bad man, and like there was these implications that he was involved with like human trafficking or the mafia or whatever. And it turned out like no, like he's just kind of a misogynist and like a douchebag, but he hasn't actually done anything illegal. So I mean, to go to like your arguments where you usually go, she's kind of the first domino here because she presented the idea here, and in order to coerce Josh and get him
Uh,
involved in it, she lied and just misrepresented the truth of the situation. And I think that that is more heinous than the situation with Josh, which is just equally as like it's bad, but there was a moment with Josh where just like you didn't tell me that. You like this is like brand new information. So not I don't know if that is an inkling that like if he had known otherwise he wouldn't have done it, but that still puts a lot more like it shines a bigger light on her for being deceptive in that way and
okay.
creating the situation. And she's just a miserable person
I
altogether.
mean,
So
I see from whence you come
yeah.
for with your argument. That said, I think that would probably make her the most deserving of jail time or but deserving
There ain't no jail time in horror.
yeah, there's no jail time in horror.
You live or die.
but just like horror. But
Unless you're like Stu in this like imaginary world where he didn't actually
right,
die
right,
at the end of
right,
Scream.
underground prison where
Yeah.
he's got, mastermind of all the ghost faces.
Hannibal Lecter.
In the new millennium, yeah. But anyway, no, I would say, I mean, I'd argue your point though and say like, I think Sergei, there's a case to be made that Sergei is the first domino because the entire plot is predicated on him attacking a fembot and making her so distressed that she needs to defend herself and kill him. So, or at least take him out of commission enough so that they can steal from him and he can't fight back. So the fact that they didn't have to do, that was completely by chance. The fact that that just happened and just fell into their laps really speaks volumes as to the villainy that is inherent in Sergei. That said, I'm still going to say my choice is then going to be Josh because I can't see our cherry picker listeners, our audience, forgiving us for holding a cherry picker for this movie and not having Josh be one of the options. So, because that just feels, they're both completely comfortable incapacitating a woman and making her, just uncomfortable. We'll just leave it there. But to the point where she's feeling violated and where, she needs to defend herself. Both of them do that. But the thing is, Josh, on top of that, is also incredibly deceptive. At least Sergei, from the word go, my mother had an audible response to his on-screen entrance, as it were, where she was just like, ugh. And I was like, I know, he's so disgusting. Like, even if he's not the bad guy that they're painting him out to be, there's not a good vibe coming off that guy. That's a villain. Stay the fuck away from him. Kat, what are you thinking? Whereas
well, we know what she was thinking. She was she was saw an opportunity and was scheming.
Yeah, of course. But
let's not rewrite history to accommodate your vote.
But that said, with Josh, there's also this duplicity. There's this sense of the fact that he could say with a straight face, the world is rigged against people like me, and believe it. And the fact that he had, like, he's a toddler. He's an intolerant child throwing tantrums because he doesn't want to hear. He actually would be a great ghost face because he does, I don't want to hear, shut up, fuck you, and then charge at each other like he's a great candidate because he thinks the world has done him wrong and he can justify everything that he's doing because he's a decent guy. So fuck that fucker. He's the problem. That's another one. I love the first domino, but I also love the problem. And they're both the problem, but he gets more screen time. And she gets the Heather Langenkamp moment with him too, where you're right, I do know you. I know you too well, Freddie.
How dare you? How dare you compare the delightfully wonderful Heather Langenkamp to Kat? No, or I should say Nancy Thompson to Kat, because
not to Kat. No, because the one who says I know you too well is Iris.
Oh, why am I?
He says you know me better than anyone in his little speech about him.
I got confused because I thought we were talking about Kat.
No, sorry. I hope somebody followed that. Anyway, Josh, I don't remember what his last name is, but that guy.
Beeman.
Let's kill him.
He says it like a million times.
Josh Beeman, that's right. That's right. I don't listen when he talks. I don't want to retain any more information about him than I have to. I'm too busy rooting for my bots.
The chat froze again, but Amethyst did say in emphatic bold letters, Trevor in Candyman. The philandering husband who
my God,
picks Malibu Stacy over
we should do like a Trevor ranking.
We're the worst Trevor.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a full episode, but it could just be like a little featurette. Something. Let's comprise a list of horror Trevors and rank them worst to least
Yeah.
offensive. Most offensive to least offensive.
Yeah.
They can all be offensive.
All right, so those are your nominations. You can either vote for Kat or Josh, and that poll will be open on Patreon. So again, head over there, and the poll is completely free for the public. But while you're there, show a little support and give back to the podcast, and you get a little bit extra. It's everyone's happy, you know. You can also find us on Instagram at the Cherry Picker Pod, and you'll find the poll there once a week. And also on YouTube, we post the poll there in the post section. It used to be called the community section. I don't know what's going on anymore. But yeah, if you're new to the Cherry Picker, hit subscribe, and also, know that you can listen to these episodes. The RSS feed is in the link down below in the descriptions. Edward, where can they find you on social media?
Basically, Instagram and Letterboxd. Edward is Truth, one word, traditional spelling. Also, if you want to see me react to the OG Stepford Wives, I did one of those on YouTube. Type in Edward is Truth, Stepford Wives. It should come up. It's a fun time. I got a reaction. Huh?
I think the link to your channel is in the links
okay.
in the YouTube. If you're
Then click
on
click
YouTube
the
here.
link and watch whatever you want. I did
Yeah.
get a response from one female watcher who said she walked in trepidatiously to my reaction because she just saw a guy watching Stepford Wives and that I was going to spend the whole time. Makes me sad about like the kinds of men she must have in her life. But she said she thought the whole time I was going to be sitting there going like, "See, what's so bad? Like it's a nice house. Why wouldn't you want that?" And instead I was totally, like, fuck those men. These women are awesome. They are amazing. They are autonomous. And they're just being people. They're not even like trying to be superheroes or anything. They're just trying to live their lives. And that threatens you, you insecure pieces of shit. And she was really reassured by that. And that made me happy. Anyway,
Cool.
so that's where you can find me. How about you,
we
Zach?
We know where we can find you.
How about you, Zach?
My main YouTube channel, Zack Cherry, ZackCherry. The link is also in the same thingy. I'm on Instagram at Retro Bitchface, all one word. Twitter, ZackCherry8. Letterboxd, Zack Cherry. What do we got going on next week?
Didn't we already say it, or did we?
Well, we talked about it with the live crew before the
Yeah.
episode
Oh,
started,
okay.
but-
I see.
but
Yeah,
let's-
memories.
But
gone.
let's let everyone else know.
The one with the Buffy bot
In Japan, when the Buffy bot spent time
when the
in
Buffy bot
Japan.
went to Japan and then
Yeah.
she spoke Japanese. Oh my God, all of
Yes.
that is true. But it's the Grudge.
The Grudge with Sarah Michelle. So yeah, that's next week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all of the Patreon supporters joining us in the live, and we will be right back.